Hey friends, this is Bandit. He loves sitting on my lap. He's really a lap dog, aren't you, buddy? Give me 5. Very soft 5s. Today we're taking a look at this knife. This is the REVO RJ-1. This is in their Journey series of knives. I've got this fixed blade of, of reasonable size. It's about a 3.5-inch blade, roughly, something like that. And I've got a little neck knife of theirs as well called the Companion. It's only $20. And it's at basically the REVO website. But this guy, it's less money in Canada right now than it is in the United States. So White Mountain Knives, you can get 10% off with coupon code CCE for this. Or at integrityknives.com, that's a store in Canada, you can get 10% off with coupon code CCE. And with the exchange rate, this is less money in Canada. 9C or 18 MOV stainless steel, not a Kydex handle scales, G10 handle scales, Kydex blade. I'm getting all the terms mixed up. Kydex sheath. This is sort of like a Nesmuk style blade crossed with a drop point kind of thing. Nice, high, flat grind. Comfortable knife. You might be interested in it. Stick around. The review's coming right away. Well, let's take a look at the blade just a little bit, and then we'll look at the sheath. There is the shape of the knife right there. Nice deep blade, thin behind the grind. Not too terribly thin, but nice and thin. I'm going to call it a full flat grind. Of course, there's a tiny bit of flat up here, but it's so deep, I'm just going to call it a full flat grind. We don't have a guard for your index finger here. I don't mind. I didn't find it really risky at all for anything that I was doing with this knife. With this style tip here, this is not a piercing knife anyways, so you're not going to be, slamming it into stuff. At least, hopefully you're not, because you might break the tip. Because it is fairly thin behind that tip there. It's a cutting knife. It's a slicing, dicing kind of knife. And it works very well for what it is. Comes in 3 G10 colors. We've got this light brown, this kind of baby diarrhea brown. Black, or you can get that common blue-gray kind of color that's out right now, a lot of in G10. The brown's got nice orange aligners there. We've got the sort of fake forged finish on the flats and on the main part of the handle here. Quite nice. Jimping on the thumb riser right there, and it's a nice and long stretch of jimping, so very friendly that way. It's good and comfortable, extra grip. I actually really wish they would have brought it up another, 3/4 of an inch, another 2 centimeters up to here. That would have been really nice. At the end of the handle of the knife, sort of the pommel kind of area, we've got a big lanyard hole, exposed steel. There's jimping on it as well, and it's not a point there, but it's good for, crushing some things. This is a good general knife to take if you're going to go hiking, camping, that kind of stuff. Is it a good primary survivalist kind of knife? No, I'd pick something else. But it's a good generalist knife, especially good for the persons who, like to go camping. Even if you go in the wilds camping, you're probably not going to carry just one knife. This is a nice knife. Not too thick in the handle. It's actually under 1/2 inch thick right there. We've got some nice milling on here. The lines follow around the front screw here, and then they go straight back. Nice swedge. It's a well-made knife for terms of comfort and handling and such. Before I get into any more details, let's look at the sheath. We've got a Kydex sheath. It's fairly wide. I think it's a little bit too wide for my liking. It's not a problem, it's just I prefer it to be a little more narrow. One of the factors that comes into play when it's this wide is this. it goes in and out a little too easily. You know, is that because of the molding? I don't really think it's that much about the molding, because if here's a line right here, if I squeeze here, if they would have put that screw hole right there, you know, then it takes more strength to get it to come out. You know, maybe even up here as well. They did this one hole here, which helps, but another one a little bit higher up, I don't know. Other than that, not a problem. We've got a little drainage hole right down here, which is nice. We've got a standoff system, and then this belt loop. I like this budget belt loop. It's a good system. You push in, and that allows it to open up. Snaps when it's closed, holds really well. If you leave it the way the factory put it on there, you know, gravity's holding it down, so you have to push up against gravity to disengage this. And since that's between the front and your body here, it's not going to accidentally push up. So it's secure. We've got adjustable sections right here, so you can put a wide belt in there. Easily, you have a 2 1/4 inch belt that you can put in there. No problem. 2 1/4 inches wide. So, or anything smaller, you just adjust it with those adjustments. One thing I noticed right away, you can see it's put on at 4 different screws. I could move that thing up 3/4 of an inch if I've made holes in this plate there and there. For somebody who likes to wear the knife a little bit lower on the hip, you could do that. And also, if you put those holes in there, it's easy to drill holes into Kydex. You could actually make it the opposite way as well. You could put it another 3/4 of an inch higher on your hip if you want to. Different body shapes for different people. And it's very easy to drill holes into Kydex. So you've got options there. Another option is you could take off this sort of Tech-Lock-ish system completely, and using this standoff, you could create a belt system like I showed on the Gedarik by Real Steel Knives. I like that kind of belt loop. The belt loop. I like to carry a knife that way, and you could easily do that with this piece that they gave you here. So I really like what REVO has done here. You've got options. You've got lots of options. And it's a decent enough Kydex. The retention's not bad. It's just a little too soft for my liking. It's loose in there a bit. Not bad. Nothing serious. Back to the knife itself. I like that we've got a couple of colors in there, and you've got a number of color choices. I don't have my metric Allen keys, or else I would take this off. Well, I do have them. I just can't find them. I've looked for over an hour today. It takes a 2.5 millimeter Allen key. No, the 7/64 key doesn't quite fit in there. And the next smaller key, you know, it's just way too small, and I would strip that out. Right now, it is balance point right there. I would, if there isn't holes in here, I'd like there to be some holes there so that it would be lighter, so that the balance point could be right over that screw. I like a knife balance to be right on the index finger there. And this one's just a tiny bit behind, so not a big deal. We don't have a sharpener's choil. Like I said, we don't have a guard there, but this cut here gives us a nice termination, sort of like a sharpener's choil for sharpening the blade up to there. The plunge ends right about there. It's a knife that's easy to sharpen. You can clamp it into your system if you've got a clamp, because you've got a nice flat section here. And if you're a whetstone sharpener, there's lots of clearance everywhere here. It's an easy knife to sharpen. Well made that way. Let's go over all of the sizes, dimensions, and that information. This knife from the factory, 145 bes is the sharpness. That's a pretty good sharpness from the factory. I like that. And let's do the lengths and measurements. The cutting edge length is 93.4 millimeters. That's 3.677 inches. So 3 2/3 of an inch. That's nice. The tip to the closest spot on the G10 handle scales, 97.3 millimeters, 3.831 inches. The blade thickness on the flat here, where you've got that sort of forged look, 3.26 millimeters. That's 0.1285, so just over 1/8 of an inch thick. The blade depth, the deepest spot is right about here, 36.1 millimeters. That's 1.421 inches. The thickness of the edge behind the grind, about 2/3 of the way down the blade, right about here is where I measured it. 0.53 millimeters, that's 20.5 thousandths of an inch. Nice and thin. And you can sharpen this thing many times before it starts getting thick behind the grind, thanks to that really deep flat grind. The grind angle, I'm just going to say it's roughly 16 degrees on this side and roughly 18 degrees on that side. It's a bit variable. This one's pretty steep right here, but only for 1/8 of an inch, where it is like a 22.1 degrees, and 3 or 4 millimeters over, it's down to 18 degrees, and then about 16.1, and then about 15.9. So that's why I'm saying it's about 16 degrees on this side. And this side here, it starts at 17.6, goes to about 18.3 here, and 20.5 up here. So a little over 18 degrees for most of the cutting edge in here. Not bad. With 9CR18 MOV, depending on what I was doing with this knife, I think I would probably sharpen it at 20 degrees per side, maybe 18 degrees per side, in that range, 18 to 20 degrees. Some more measurements. The handle length, I'm talking about the G10 now, 103.8 millimeters, 4.086 inches. The handle thickness, it's about 12.3 millimeters. That's 0.484 of an inch. So like I said, just under half an inch. The handle depth within the grip area, the widest point is right there, 28.6 millimeters, 1.126 inches. And the main grip area, it's about 100 millimeters, about 4 inches. The total length of the knife from the tip to the very end of the handle, 20.9 centimeters, which is, and I forgot to do the math, it's about 8¼ inches. It's a good medium-sized knife, nice grind, nice high grind like this. Good for a food prep knife when you're camping, even at home if you want to. General EDC. It's not really a whittling blade, but I did cut a bunch of pine with this. Treated 2x4s. It cut those just fine. It's a decent piece of steel with a comfortable enough grip. No real hot spots when I was using it. It's just a well-made knife that looks good, and it's cheaper in Canada, like I said. What's the price on this thing? At White Mountain Knives, it is $69.99 American. Take off 10%, and then it's $62.99. At integrityknives.com, which is in Canada, it is $79.99 Canadian. Take off 10%, $71.99. So the American price, $62.99, equals about 79 Canadian dollars, and you can get it for about 72 Canadian dollars. So this is one time where a knife is actually less money in Canada. So Canadians, this is one time I'm not going to suggest that you go across the border. Now I do have to put on the disclaimer, this knife was given to me by REVO Knives, so whatever that means to you, that's what it means to you. To me, it means absolutely nothing. I review every knife exactly the same way, regardless of where it comes from, to the best of my ability. What do you think of this knife? I kind of like it. Is it the perfect knife? Of course not. There's no such thing. But it's a pretty decent knife. Feels good. It's not too heavy. Oh, I didn't give you the weights, did I? Sorry about that. put this back on the screen. The weights, 145 grams, 5.1 ounces. You add in the sheath 268 grams, 9.45 ounces. So basically 9.5 ounces with the whole thing together. So it's not a bad weight. It's got decent balance. It's made well. It's got limitations. The tip is a little too thin to use for doing tough piercing. Certainly not into wood or something. That's not very smart, or not metal. It doesn't even have the shape that's best for piercing anyways, but you can do basic piercing. You could use this as a skinning knife in a pinch and it would do quite well. It's a pretty good knife. Nice grip, very good slicer. Like I said, a reasonable piercer. The sheath is pretty good. The standoff, I really like that they put that in there. A decent Tech-Lock style belt holder. It's a good general purpose blade. The cons, it's a little weak at the tip, so just like every other knife, don't use it for prying. The sheath is a little wide for my liking. The only other thing, and I've mentioned a couple times, is the retention here is a little bit weak, and that would have been solved if they would have made it just a little bit different. And you can do that at home if you want to. You could, drill a little hole through here and put a screw in, with some washers on either side, just to give it a little bit of a squeeze, if that's too loose for you. When it's in there, gravity's holding it down. To me, it's not a big deal. I wouldn't change a thing on it. Just leave it the way it is. So thank you for watching my video. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Those things do make a difference. Will I be selling this knife? Probably on the knife sale that I'm going to be doing very soon. Early March, we've got our next knife sale happening. So thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Did I already say that? And remember, friends, cut towards your chum, not your thumb. Bye for now.